Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Sim Races Group F3 Championship. This is round number 10 of this season, coming to you tonight from Watkins, Glen. My name is Ron Mullins, and alongside me in the commentary booth for tonight is Mr. Joshua Wilkie. Well, Josh, we've got a pretty darn good race to look forward to here tonight. Watkins Glen always offers up some of the best racing on iRacing, so I have a feeling we're in for a pretty darn good one here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. Thanks for welcoming me in there. And yeah, this one's going to be I mean, Watkins Glen sort of separates the wheat from the chaff around here. This is a place that you need to use your racecraft. You need to make good decisions. You need to not try to hustle things a little bit too much, or push your competitor a little bit too hard here and there, because you can end up hitting a wall. You can end up spinning out at incredibly high speed in the boot. There are places to catch the car around here, and of course, as we know, that first lap, that first charge up the hill down that front straight towards the bus stop there is a very treacherous spot. We've seen some of the biggest crashes I've ever seen in iRacing have been through that section there. So we'll see how everybody can sort it out today, see if they can make some good decisions out there, and that's going to be the key to the race, I think, here, is to just get there and finish. Coming down this front straight into this bus stop area is just mega speed. As we can see, I'm taking the curb, getting very loose there, gathering it up, not quite. And if that happens to you on the first lap, there's a lot of cars to collect with you.
Yeah, and seeing that as they head their way off through the bus stop, it's technically called the inner loop, but everybody knows and loves it as the bus stop. And that right there was your current provisional pole sitter of Josh Leslie, the one that ran into those difficulties as he headed his way off through that part of the racetrack. He's currently sat on that provisional pole. Stephen Case is set to join him on the front row right now. Stephen Case, always a dominant racer here in this championship, as he looks to try and get a good lap time here. Not looking like he will improve, as looking like everybody's setting 11-minute long lap times. I'm not sure if that is entirely accurate, but certainly some damage on that race car too, as he will grind to a halt and try and set himself up for a last lap assault as we get to the end of this qualifying session. Jason Green, the professor, as we like to call him over on the Weekend Warrior side of things, currently slotted in third here in this session as a driver currently in the pit lane, the 777 of Alex Velasco. This is a driver that I feel like you will be pulling, Josh, as 777 is usually the number that you run over on the Weekend Warriors.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Got definitely another driver out there running the same numbers as me there. I run them on most of my cars when I can get them anyway. Looks like actually he was the one, I believe, who got them. I'm supposed to be out there driving, actually, Ron, and I actually didn't get 777 because he already had it, and ended up using my alternate numbers there. But yeah, too bad I'm not out there. Looks like I'm not going to make this season, unfortunately. Pretty much going to pull out. Was a little too busy to get out there. Hoping that I can set it up so that next season I can get out there a little more, because I love these cars. I didn't really get a very good chance to get out there. But let's go on board here maybe with Jose Navas Molina here for a lap down the front straight, leading into T1 here. One of the more difficult corners on the track to get right. You know, it's not an easy one. You're kind of downhill, it's a little off camber. Massive curb here that you can take a bunch of, but you kind of just want to nip, just like he did there, take it about as wide as you can. Probably could have used a little bit more of the track there. And then pretty standard fare through here. Just trying not to move the wheel as much as possible. Keep it straight. Kind of just fingertips through here. And then we have a long time to think about either, A, am I going to pass this guy down here? Am I going to get a draft? And if I do, what am I going to do when I get to the bus stop? And it's a difficult one. This is one that you want to try to actually set up on the inside just for practice. And you can see there, he didn't take a whole bunch of the curb. Now, not exactly sure how the F3 cars are going to be handling that curb around here today. I haven't had a chance to try it myself. We'll have to see during the race. We didn't take a lot of it there. And then into that next section we just saw, you really want to try to carry your speed through there. And then we start to get a little more technical here. You want to start kind of reining yourself in a little bit, at making sure that you get on the brakes, get to that apex, and get on the gas as early as possible. This being one of the more difficult sections here. You can see him kind of trying to dive maybe a little bit early into that apex on that one. You want to catch that one just a little bit later. He's going to let a car by here. We'll stay with him just into this last section here. Another right-hander. Good passing opportunity here if you can get it right. Lots of exit here to play with. You can see him not using too much of it, obviously not at full speed. And then this is one always gets me. This corner's deceiving. You're not sure if you should take it in third, you're not sure if you should take it in second, and then it's really hard to get the power down and not either A, spin the car, or end up in that outside wall. Pretty standard fare through this next spot here, pretty flat in an F3 car, and then getting her slowed down just so you can get on the gas early here through this last corner down to another shot at that T1 and see if you can get it right. He's going to go into the pit here and maybe do a little bit of work before the race.
Yeah, and the driver that he led by in the mid-sector as he headed his way all through the boot is Jason Green, who has only a couple of more opportunities left to go here in this session. Only 3 minutes left, 2.5 minutes technically, but we'll round it up just to give these racers the benefit of the doubt. Leslie still top of the poll at the moment here in this session. Not a lot of racers out there on the racetrack currently, and some to have yet to set a time. Jason Trantham is one. I'm a driver who usually runs over in the F4 ranks. I see him here in the F3 as a driver of the number 82 car. You have to put a time on the board, but we'll have to see if you can put a time on the board with only 2 minutes left to go. These drivers will likely be starting their final laps here soon, so certainly getting into crunch time here in this qualifying session.
Yeah, this place, it's one of those spots. I think, again, we said about other tracks on iRacing too. I think a lot of us have been around here a bunch, so you can kind of tend to expect things a little bit from it sometimes. On top of that, once you expect things, you can make mistakes easily, and it's easy to get out. It's really easy to ask a little bit too much of this track, I would say. That the curbs can hurt you, as you just saw there. If you get up on those 3D curbs, especially in these F3 cars, they can really urge you. See the 76 there almost pulling a wheelie, getting a little bit actually nippy there with the car in front of him for a qualifying session, but looks like he was off track. Shouldn't matter anyway. He's going to pull by and let him through for now. But yeah, this place, you're fighting the track out there for sure, and it's really easy to kind of go a little bit wide or push a little bit too hard, especially in that chicane. As just going back to my thought a little bit earlier, I think I saw Jason Green take a whole lot of that curb in the bus stop, and that's exactly what you generally want to do is take a bunch of that first part of the curb and sort of spits you out into the rest of the bus stop so that you can kind of control it into the next section here. We'll see how much Trantham takes in here, and he's going to take her pretty easy too. So we got two kind of minds on that one. Some people a little bit scared to get right in there, and others, I'm pretty sure this car, if you're got the downforce locked down and you've just flattened the gas through there, you'll probably be okay.
And one thing to note about this version of Watkins Glen was recently updated on iRacing to add in the altered curbs as they head their way through the bus stop. The first inside curb used to be exactly the same like the others around this track, that multicolored, now blue, yellow and red look instead of just being the regular old yellow and red. They have changed that though, and it's been a change that has not been received well by many people, as rather abruptly the qualifying session coming to a conclusion. You usually see the racers at least a couple more opportunities, but they will not. So that will do it for qualifying, and we can get the starting grid for the first heat race of the night up and rolling here in just a couple of moments time. And speaking of, let's go through it. Josh Leslie gonna start this race from the pole position. Stephen K set to join him on the front row. Jason Green will start in third. Alex Velasco alongside in fourth. Jose Navas will start in fifth. Alongside him will be Tyrone De Silva, Adrian Lopez in 7th, Jason Cotcher in P8, Joshua Corwin in 9th, David Borden completes your top 10 with Daniel Labivi in P11. Kalen Michaelwitz will start this race in P12, and then looking right behind, we've got Igor Grunsky in P13, Justin Snyder in 14th, Adam Duvall in 15th, Jacob Gein in 16th, Kukaran Dillon in P17, Varun Bali in P18 with Jason Trantham completing your field. So that's how they shake out for the first race of the night. It's going to be a fun one, waiting for the drivers to still line up. Currently waiting for Jason Green, Alex Velasco, Justin Snyder, and Varun Bali to line up on that starting grid. And then we can switch our attention into what is going to be a pretty hectic day of racing action. It must be said, everybody going to have their eyes open in that run down into turn number 1. Going to be a terrifying prospect for many a racer. May be fun for some, may be horrifying for others. We'll just have to find out what this race has in store. But let's take a look at from the flag stand. We're going to see those lights turn on in just a couple of moments as we wait for only one more driver, Varun Bali, to line up on that starting grid, and we can get this first race of the evening rocking and rolling. We're getting close to the end of the season as well, so these racers do have to worry about their respective championship fights. We'll be able to touch on the championship points a little bit later on. For now, though, we just have to stay focused on waiting to see Varun Bali line up on that grid. iRacing may force a start here soon if he doesn't line up. He's set to start this race in P18 if he does take part. But nonetheless, This is going to be fun. I think iRacing is forcing a start here. Let's get up and rolling for the 10th round of the season, the first race of the night here at Watkins Glen. 5 lights on, 5 lights out, and
we
a
have a no
stall
starter
off the grid right away. That is Stephen Case with a horrendous start. He's going to drop down like a stone thrown into a pond. Josh Leslie got to be up at the front of Jason Green, and Alex Velasco duking that for some spots right behind.
Yeah, that was a real close one. An excellent job for people to avoid him there. I'm not sure I've ever seen a start like that where it didn't cause a massive accident. So great job and awareness from some of the drivers here. We're going to see Jason Green right off the rip here is going to start having a look at that 55 car. He's going to challenge him into the bus stop here. This is what I meant about practicing that inside and outside line before you get there. And we're going to have a driver behind get a little bit too spicy there with Jason. So again, that would have been a really good time to get on the brakes and give some people some room, but instead decided to try to charge it as close as possible. And well, we're looking at a car with no nose and no tail because of that one. Unfortunate, he's out.
Yeah, and that was Cooker on Dylan running into the back of Jason Green. Huge implications at the start of this race, and that was a major impact. And he was not alone in that. I think he got vaulted there by Alex Velasco. We're going to take a look to see his perspective here. Velasco had a wild ride in this coming together. Let's see as they head their way into the bus stop chicane. There's a contact. Monster trucks over that car. He avoids making contact with the barrier, but either way, Velasco and De Silva are pretty much going to be out of contention before this race even got going. Josh Leslie, meanwhile, up in the front is your race leader as he rounds his way around the final corner to complete the first lap of the race. He's in front of Adrian Lopez, who's over Jose Navas, completing your podium at the end of the first lap of this 15-minute long race.
Yeah, really unfortunate there. And there's really nothing Alex could do there, I don't think, to miss that one. You know, you can really get on the clappers there and try, but obviously you're trying to kind of make up a position maybe as well. And, you know, like I said at the beginning, that first lap into the bus stop and up through this section is not the time to see how deep you can go on the brakes into the bus stop, as we're going to see some more people flirting with danger here at the beginning, getting as close as possible to each other. We got Joshua Corwin here going to take a look up the outside. This one can definitely work. Like I said, you want to make sure you practice this outside line, outside to inside, and keep it open here. Really good spot, though, to also get into it. And that is exactly what happens when you again, car on the inside there. Just instead of giving it up, tries to just do it incredibly low percentage dive and try to make it up the inside. And that's just never going to work. It's always better. We still have about what? We have over 10 minutes left in the race here to make something like that happen. It's just not worth it to go that high percentage of risk into the bus stop. It's just not.
Yeah, that's the problem with the bus stop. It's so inviting to get a move done, but can end in tears so easily, and sometimes it is just not worth it. Unfortunately for those two, the coming together are going to take one of them out of contention, as David Bourne has dropped down all the way down to P16. A big lock up there from Labivi as he heads his way off through the end of the boot section. Now going to have Jason Cotcher on the inside of him, side by side, as they head their way through turn number 9, and that is going to be a swaparoo, I believe, right there, unless Cotcher is not going to be able to jump into that spot. We now follow him and run on board with him in that 422 car. Captain Cotcher running in P8 as it stands at the present moment, ahead of SRG, running strong at the moment here in this race. One of only a few competitors throughout this field who's running in the exact same spot that he started in. In fact, the only other racer who's running in the same spot that they started in is your current race leader of Josh Leslie.
Yeah, like we said, you know, the starts at this place can be pretty frenetic. It's all about kind of just having some patience and waiting for things to sort out. If you're trying to go too wide through the bus stop on lap 2 or what have you there, even lap 3 is maybe not the best thing to do right away. But you know, we saw some people fall to the wayside of that, and now we should start kind of, well, as we're going to get another too wide attempt there. Not exactly sure what happened on that one. It looks like maybe somebody was trying to slow down or had a moment before we kind of tuned in there. So I'm not going to say much about that one yet until we can kind of go back and see what happened. But the bus stop causing all kinds of problems tonight again, and I just can't stress enough. This is a place where you need to make those good decisions. You need to kind of think about it. You know, what is the percentage that if I go through here too wide, am I going to come out the other side? And generally speaking, it's very, very low, and it's almost never a good idea to try too wide on entry into this unless it's the last lap of the race and the last race of the season for a podium, in my opinion. And unfortunately, it looks like kind of tripping over each other again there.
Oh, as you can see, a wild ride from Igor Grunsky, and I think that may have been Jacob Gein who just hopped the berm big time. He had a pretty wild trip throughout that. Let's take a look at this from the SMB gyro cam, because this was a wacky ride. Hit the curb big time. Whoa, ho, ho. Yeah, that's a bunny hop for sure. He's got to keep it going in a straight line. Currently finds himself in 9th, but that could have ended in tears very, very easily. It's been a hectic and chaotic start here, as we do have a driver with a meatball flag, a driver that wound himself in the midst of all those difficulties heading down in there. That's Daniel Lubevi in the number 69 car, which I usually wouldn't say something like this. I'm kind of happy that happened to the Labubu car, because those Labubus are absolutely horrifying. Just the worst creatures that I see in my nightmares, and I'm probably going to have bad PTSD flashbacks about those in many, many moons. Meanwhile, we got a battle for 3rd between Navas and Case.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, just on that replay, you can see how much people are trying to kind of stay off of each other and just not have it happen there. So good driving and an avoidance as well there too. I think that second one looked like it's just kind of a moment, people not trying, just kind of tripping over each other there. I don't think anybody was really forcing an issue or anything. But back to some racing here. We're looking behind at Stephen Case here from Navas, and we know Stephen Case has pace around here. He's been, I'm pretty much everywhere. He's been kind of the leader of the pack here for almost every race. This one, actually seeing him back here in 4th, he's going to take a look up the, I believe, is this the inside actually here, just nearing the end of the lap, and he's going to make that one work pretty easy there. Probably one of the best passing spots on the course, I'd say, Ron.
Yeah, and that is easy done. Easy peasy, beautiful breezy for Stephen Case. He jumps his way up into 3rd. Now, Jose Navas is going to have to worry about some drama a little bit farther behind him in the form of the ever-enclosing Joshua Corrin. There he is right now on the racetrack, slotted in 5th, and the driver of the number 37 car going to try and reel in the drivers in front and potentially get some moves done. If he can make this work, that would be P3 for him in this race, and that would make it 6 spots gained. Since the drop of the green flag, he is not the hard charger from this race, though, as that honor currently goes to Jason Trentham. We follow him as he has his way off through turn number 1. 8 spots gained since the drop of the green flag for him.
Yeah, that's a good one there. Picking up a few, I think, on the first lap, but then some on merit as well. And yeah, Joshua Corwin actually, he's got a lot of speed today for sure. I don't believe he's about 4 positions up from when he started there, having a nice, consistent race here so far. So if you can keep it like that around here, that'll be a good one for him. He'll probably be able to. Looks like he's probably got some pace on the car in front of him. Not sure, it's one of those things, once in a while I'll get out in one of these races and kind of just not have the pace here and there, and then I find something, kind of mid-race, or you're following somebody, you're like, oh, that's how you do that. And then and then you can go a bit quicker for the rest of the race. So maybe that's what's happened to Joshua Corwin up here, as he's chipping time away slightly. Watching a pretty good battle here between Culkern Dillon and Jason Trantham here. Looks like it's going to kind of calm down for the moment, but I'll have to keep an eye on this one.
Yeah, and I thought that Culkern Dillon was going to go for the dive as he headed his way into the boot section. Didn't make it stick, though, but he most certainly was looking for the dive as they headed their way into that heavy downhill braking zone. Seeing some lockups go on for Jason Trantham, so Culkern Dillon, even though he has lost out on a bit of time, still not out of harm's way, for lack of a better term, for Jason Trantham. Culkern Dillon is still within striking distance. If he has more sideways snaps like that, he's got to find himself feeling even more pressure as we get further along in this event. Meanwhile, the drivers on the back straightaway soon. It's going to be Jose Navas and Joshua Corwin. We jump to this battle. This is the fight for P4 at the moment here in this race, as they've lost touch with Stephen Case. He's driven off into the sunset. Navas, meanwhile, holding on to P3, and we'll run on board with him, looking from the back end of that race car, and we'll see that gap close. Joshua Corwin trying to reel it in, maybe going to go for a move as they head their way down to the bus stop. He thinks better of it.
Yeah, now that's what you like to see right there through there. There is an option right there. You could try to whoop, and he's going to get it probably on the undercut through here as well. So a little bit of a swing wide there for Navas, I believe, and Corwin's going to monopolize on that, be able to come around the outside here into the later part of the lap. Looks like he's actually, Navas, going to be falling victim here, possibly to Killian Mikowitz as well. A little bit, that just goes to show you, one little mistake like that, one little understeer moment, and it can really come back to bite you in these, these cars have a fair amount of power, but you really do need to keep the momentum up, as we're going to get an inside move here, perhaps.
Yeah, and look at Michaelowicz trying to go for the move as they head their way in through, I believe that is technically speaking, the heel of the boot. And that right there is Kayla Michaelowicz being Jose Navas's heel in this race as he jumps out in front of those two. Going to still battle as we get farther along. Keep an eye on the other car of Igor Grunsky. Is that an Angry Bird that I see on the front end of that race car? He's looking to bomb his way through this field. Running good at the moment. P7. 6 spots gained since the drop of the green flag, and although Jason Cotcher has remained in the exact same spot since the start, Adam Duvall right behind has not. Duvall is actually able to get a dominating win, his third in a row in the Sim Racers Group F4 series, I should say, that he can catch here at Slow Motion Broadcasting every single Tuesday. Won last time out literally just 24 hours ago at Snetterton, holding on to a pretty alright spot at the moment, P9 for the driver of that number 13 car, and still a lot of room to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little confused here, actually. I didn't know you were allowed to be in both series. Maybe he got bumped up, and he's already doing pretty well here. But yeah, pretty dominant run. Nice paint job again here, too. He's looking nice and colorful out there with the cool skull on the side. We go back to another colorful car here of the Lego machine with Justin Snyder. He's looking up the inside here, getting her done before you can get to that apex there. It's usually the way to get it done. You can kind of intimidate your competitor into backing out of it, but it's generally not good to play chicken into that area, as we learned a little bit earlier here. Really difficult section, this corner, or this area here as well. He's really momentum based. You can see him hitting that apex really late, bring it all the way out to that 3D curb there. You want to use as much of it as possible. Showing us a pretty good line here. Nice late apex there, as well as he's taking chunks at Culker and Dillon here in front of him. Seemingly having a little bit more pace here for Justin Snyder. So we could have another battle on our hands right here as they're, I believe, going through, is this the toe of the boot?
This is actually the heel, as that right there was a big running wide moment for Kukaran Dillon. He'll lose out on that spot. Hop the berm, ran over the curb, as that is Justin Snyder briefly getting abducted by a UFO. It does look like there is a little bit of damage on the front end of that race car. We'll see the nose of that compared to the nose of Snyder. Looks like he's got damage due. Here's a good little comparison here with Josh Leslie. That car has been rather smooth all throughout the day. Looks like there's some damage on his car as well. I think this track has proved to be a bit of a menace to everybody. It looks like throughout this field has run into some sort of difficulties. I know that in these F3 cars, which I absolutely adore, any sort of damage on the front end of it could really affect both your straight line speed and your cornering potential too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, something we forgot to mention, actually, when I was talking about the curbs at the bus stop is you absolutely can, as we have an Angry Bird off the road there, I believe, you absolutely can damage the front of these cars with that curb strike. If you hit that curb hard enough, you can definitely bend some of the flicks there on the front of the car. I'm sure there's some other curbs around here too that you could whack hard enough and end up hurting it. We're going to take a look here at Igor Grunsky getting it wrong. Ooh. Oh, really good attempt to save it there.
Oh, he kept it out of the wall.
Out of the wall. Well done, Igor. That was a good one there. Fun to watch that. So I'm not exactly sure how he lost his nose here. What exactly happened there? Oh, no, he does have a nose on him. Okay, maybe I just dreamt that. But yeah, great save there from Igor. Maybe we get an onboard there when we get a chance again.
Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. Should note that I believe Josh Leslie is about to start it. I think, is that the white flag in the air? I don't believe the white flag is in the air. I will double check here. I think we are getting close to it, but no, I don't believe the white flag is in the air. Yeah, the bury the flag man still just running by his lonesome, so I think that's going to be
it just looks a little bored there, a little bummed out.
Yeah, I think he's like, oh man, I want to wave the white flag, but he will get to do that next time for Josh Leslie, trying to cap off a win here. We'll look at a battle maybe going to flare up here involving Kayla Michaelowicz and Joshua Corwin. We'll ride on board with Michaelowicz and see that gap reel in. Look at that. The slingshot engaged as they had their way down the back straightaway. Look at Michaelowicz trying to get that P4 spot from Josh Corwin. He'll get it done, but a big runoff over the curb. And look at Corwin fighting back. He's going to be stuck on the outside now as they head their way in through the carousel. This is going to be a dangerous game that both of these racers love to play. They're rolling the dice.
Yeah, that was some good moves there again from Joshua Corwin, sort of facilitating that pass, then trying for the undercut, and he would have had it too, I think, but he swung a little bit wide there and almost went into the grass, probably lost just a little bit of traction there on exit, and he's going to have to give that position up at least for now, but keeping it clean. And then that's what matters the most there between all the drivers there. Is just not a good place, obviously, sometimes to kind of focus down on that particular corner there to try to get a pass done. But that one was nice and clean. As we're going to look back at Jose Molina now. Yeah, he's kind of been falling back a little bit. Again, I'm wondering if maybe some underfloor damage on these things that are not visible to us. You can see a little bit of scraped paint on the nose there. And we're going to get the winner, Josh Leslie, here coming across the line. That one kind of snuck up on me a bit.
Yeah, that's a white flag. That is just
well, it's
barely the white flag. See, I was wondering, I was like, man, that's kind of close with a white flag, but the white flag is in the air. One more lap of racing action for Josh Leslie. That came up rather quickly regardless, but he's on track for a pretty dominating win. Looking at battle here for the final 2 podium spots. Adrian Lopez has been running smooth in that 007 car, so I think the best way we can describe it, he has been shaken, not stirred here in this race. That was cheap, I apologize. But Stephen Case, who's been the dominant racer up to this point in the championship, has not been able to rattle his cage. Lopez up 5 spots from where he started. Pretty darn good recovery drive from him as we look at a battle still going on between Kalen Michaelwitz, Joshua Corwin, and Jose Navas. These are the battles for the final 2 spots inside the top 5, and I think it may very much so be a Jose Navas and Joshua Corwin fight instead of a Joshua Corwin and Kalen Michaelwitz fight, as the gap is a lot closer between those two than it is the racers a little bit farther up the road. Adam Duval also fighting for some spots too as we look at him. And Jacob Guyon, the 2 that finished 1-2 in the race in the F4s just 24 hours ago. Meanwhile, up at the front end of the field, Josh Leslie looking to cap off a brilliant race 1 performance here at Watkins Glen as he heads his way into the final corner. The driver of the number 55 car started from the pole and is going to convert it to a lights to flag victory here at Watkins Glen. There's a win for Josh Leslie. He's victorious in race number 1 tonight. Adrian Lopez and Stephen Case going to be very close in their battle right to the very end. Kayla Michaelwitz going to win out in that fight between himself, Joshua Corwin, who runs out to top 5, and Jose Navas Molina, who comes up oh so close. Meanwhile, Justin Snyder, he's run into some difficulties. Snyder impacts the wall as we got a fight between Igor Grunsky and Jason Trantham. That's Grunsky. I think that car is very much so wounded. He's going to try and put that car across the line as Trantham gets that spot at the very end. What in the world happened to Snyder? Let's take a look at this here real quick to see what the deal may have been. Heading off into my least favorite corner in the whole wide world. Turn number 9 on Watkins Glen on the boot configuration. I think he was blinking in and out pretty severely there. And next thing you know, he's in the wall with some damage. I think he's beached on the curb too. Yeah,
looks like just asked a little too, exactly like I was saying in the run up there. It's so easy. I think it's probably because that corner sort of crests right there and the car's a little bit unstable. And if you just kind of get on the power, in the wrong way a little bit early, in the wrong orientation with the weight in the wrong place, the car just kind of loops itself really, really hard to recover there. And then of course there's that outside wall there to catch you that, every time I spin there, I'm like, I'm not going to hit that wall, am I? And then before I know it, I'm in the wall.
Yeah, it's very easy for that wall to come back and bite somebody on the hind end. That is something that I've learned myself driving around this track. I adore Watkins Glen. It's an all-time favorite, and driving the F3 on Watkins Glen is pretty fun as well. Now, this is a fun little broadcaster story, so obviously it takes quite a lot to get into to running an iRacing broadcast, as Mr. Joshua Wilkie knows quite well, and as I've learned myself getting into this production stuff. But my old PC was not fit to do this at all. In fact, that PC, I remember once I tried to film myself doing an iRacing event, and it was an AI race with the F3 cars racing here at the Glen, and I think I was getting about 20 frames per second with all of the graphics turned down as low as I possibly could. So I'm very happy to say that my current PC runs a heck of a lot smoother than the old one did.
Yeah, that's especially a lot of the new scans here can be a little bit tough to run. I was actually just speaking to a friend today, one of my good technical buddies there, Dana Heron. Maybe he's out there listening, possibly today. He was just saying, he's got a 3080 and a pretty beefy setup. I remember when we were hanging out before, he kind of had the beefy setup, and now things kind of struggling a little bit to run iRacing as well as it used to, at least for him. And people kind of having to wake up to the idea, like things it's gotten a little bit harder to run for sure. The hardware, it can still be run with the proper settings on almost anything, but if you really want it to look super pretty, you got to crank it up, and it's going to cost you a bit of money for a good PC to get in there. So I definitely know how it feels with mine sounding some days like it's going to take right off in my room and start flying across the room, and the fans are going so hard. But yeah, in our little warm up here as well, pretty good first race there. I'd say the bus stop definitely took some people out. We saw a few kind of low percentage moves, a few dives, a few kind of tripping over each other, and it is so easy to do there. I'm reminded just now of the sort of inside move we saw there in one of the bigger crashes, and I've had very, very similar instances there. When somebody's trying to pass you on the outside into the bus stop and you're on the inside, you feel very claustrophobic and really tied down. And I've just had to learn over the years that if somebody's going to kind of stick their nose over the outside of it and they're actually gaining on you and they're fully beside you, it's usually better to back out of it, because that outside guy, if he's got nowhere to turn down to basically, and it's always going to be an incident. It's a hard one to let go of, but we saw how it happens there. And I've done exactly the same thing, go flying through the inside, hit that curb just a little too hard, and man, oh man, the bus stop can get you here. It is not an easy one to do every lap for sure.
Yeah, it is a brutal section of an old school racetrack. We always enjoy seeing racing at Watkins Glen, but sometimes it can bite these competitors exactly where they do not want to be bit. But we are currently in the midst of warm-up, about halfway through this 5-minute long warm-up session, in fact. So I think we're going to get some of the business taken care of. First off, if you are enjoying this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, happy to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action, because we have got you covered every single week here on SMB. We can also take a look at your race results from the first race of the evening, kind of run through how everything shook out at the very end. Joshua Leslie is your race winner. Adrian Lopez in second. Stephen Case rounds out your podium in third, with Kalen Michaelwitz in fourth. Joshua Corwin finishes that race in P5. Jose Navas, Jason Cotcher, Adam Duvall, Jacob Gein, and everybody else rounding out your field. I was going to take a look at the championship point standings, but I think warm-up was actually set as 3 minutes instead of 5.
Oh, look at that.
So we have got ourselves a race to take a look at here. So let's take a look at the starting grid for the second race of the night, because this is going to be just as hectic as the first. That's not the right bun. Let's get that up here. There's the right bun. Joshua Leslie going to start this race from the pole position. Adrian Lopez will join him on the front row. It's going to be Stephen Case starting this race in third. Next to him will be Kalen Michaelwitz. P5 will be Joshua Corwin. P6 will be Jose Navas. Starting this race in seventh will be Jason Cotcher, and alongside him will be Adam Duvall. P9 will be Jacob Gein, with Kukaran Dillon rounding at your top 10, Josh.
Yeah, and then in 11th place, we got Jason Trantham. In 12th place, Igor Grunsky, Daniel Avivi in 13th, 14th, Jason Green in 16th, Jason Snyder, 18th, Alex Vallejo, David Borden in 17th, Tyrone Da Silva 18th, and Varun Bali is in 19th. And we have another standing start here. I love standing starts, Ron. They are so hard. We are almost green. Here we go.
The green flag's out, the drivers are on their way, and once again, we're racing here at Watkins Glen. That's a pretty good start for everybody. They keep it clean this time, but let's see how it works as they head their way down to turn number 1. Josh Leslie and Stephen Case go side by side as they head their way through turn number 1. Who's going to win out in this fight? This is going to be some close quarter stuff, some blinking out right behind for Joshua Corwin, but Josh Leslie leads them as they head their way out of the S's. Now, though, he's got to worry about the challenge and the drift from Stephen Case. Here we go. Side by side as they head their way on the back straightaway, heading off into the bus stop right about now, licking the stamp and setting it as Stephen Case around the outside to jump into the race lead. Through into P1 goes Stephen Case. Josh Leslie now slotted in second. Some drivers shuffling themselves out a little bit farther behind. Everybody wants a lead lap 1 here at Watkins Glen, but only one man can do it as it stands at the moment. It looks like Stephen Case is that guy.
Yeah, that was a clinic right there from the lead drivers of Case, Josh Leslie and Joshua Corwin. Again, having some patience there, letting it kind of just facilitate for the time being and get through that section of the course, live to fight another day. That's how you do it. It looks like everybody has learned from that first round here so far, and we're looking pretty clean as we got trying to take a little bit heavy on the brakes there. I believe that was Jason Cotcher. who almost got caught out there. Really easy to do in that spot, especially on the first lap when your tires are a bit cold here. We're going to go side by side. I believe that's Jacob Guyton on the outside, and we're going to get Jason Cotcher on the inside here. Not quite going to be able to make that one work into the first lap, but that is a nice, clean first lap for everybody. We have a bunch of clean F3 cars there as we see one brush a little paint off in the background.
Yeah, we have a bunch of clean race cars apart from one. It's Igor Grunsky in the number 3 car. He's run into some difficulties. That's a meatball flag out for him. Not sure what is going on with that driver, but he is in the pits at the moment. We'll have to repair the damage on that race car before he can get back out there on the road. Meanwhile, Stephen Case and Josh Leslie going to continue on the game of Leapfrog. Here they go. Side by side once again down the back straightaway into the bus stop. This game of Leapfrog is going to go on all throughout this race if these drivers can keep it tight. And once again, Case going to hold on to that spot. Josh Leslie now has to worry about a challenge from Joshua Corwin right behind him, although Corwin runs a little bit wide. We're right on board with the nose of the 37 car. Sit on the front wing. You can see that is not an insurmountable gap by any means.
Yep, nope, not at all. We're definitely in draft range here. Still early days. Lots of curbs, lots of bus stops to go through here before the end for sure. And once again, seeing it, trying to play chicken into that area. That's really what it is, almost honestly, into the bus stop. You're kind of just who's going to stay on it and who isn't. And at least in my experience, it's always been better to let the car that's ahead a little bit through, even if you're on the inside. And we saw that time, car on the outside relinquishing the inside, which is probably the usual thing that will happen unless you can really get a run on that outside and think you can make it happen. That's when things get kind of spicy around there. Joshua Corwin here holding on to third place. Adrian Lopez just behind him with the 007, sorry. And then we have Killian Mikowitz, car number 76 there in 5th place. And then pretty much just car after car after car. We got Navas, Duval, Cotcher and Labivi just switching places there as well. And Jacob Guyton, everybody's pretty darn close. We're only a couple seconds all the way back to the end of the field here pretty much.
Here we go, looking at a fight with David Borden and Justin Snyder. Snyder had a pretty rough go of things in the first race with some damage on that Lego car, but he's not looking to break the brick off. His contact made it a big crash from Borden. That's as they head their way off through the S's, and that is 2 wheels on the right-hand side of that race car completely sheared off. Accident at terminal velocity will take David Borden out of this race. I don't think Justin Snyder got away from that completely smooth either. That's a driver going off the track. That's Alex Velasco.
Oh, we had another car missing its nose there, and I sort of missed. I saw kind of where it happened on track, but not exactly how we got there into that accident. Again, not a place that you generally want to be too wide going through. And David Borden not going to finish both races, and man, that is a very, very damaged race car there. As I was saying before, the crash that you can have around here is mega. There's a reason I think that they don't race a whole lot, or they don't do F1 or anything like that here, because you really could get a massive accident around here. And when we can get you a replay maybe of what exactly transpired here for both of these sets of drivers that got caught up in that one, but I think I have a pretty good idea maybe what happened there on that first incident.
Yeah,
just limping her home here.
Yeah, currently just trying to bring that car back to home base. Let's take a look at this. Had to rewind it a little bit farther back into that. I do apologize, but it was a lot of things going on in the span of a couple of moments. Let's follow David Bourne and his perspective in all of this. Can see the side-by-side battling going on right in front as there was the move heading up the hill from Snyder, hit the curb. There's a contact, and bang, auger straight into the fence. He nearly rolled that car over in the auxiliary contact with the Lego machine right after that. I gotta say, and this is completely honest, I think Justin Snyder should have probably thought better about getting that move done. Even in these draft-heavy Formula 3s, that is not a spot to try and go for a move. These racers, though, still learning the ropes on iRacing, and that is a lesson that is learned the hard way, as he also has some rally action, trying to get past Jason Trantham right in front of him.
Yeah, that's 100% right, Ron. The thing with that section of the course is A, you're not really expecting it, and B, it's not really the best place to do it either. If you get it done there, you've basically just robbed yourself of the draft down the back straight when you could have got it done for free. Basically, there's no risk whatsoever at all to waiting about another 2 seconds and then just drafting the car and passing him down the straightaway. So it's, again, one of those things where you're throwing out a very high risk pass for a very low percentage that it's going to end up working out. And that's just the way she goes sometimes. I've also been caught in that section of the course more than a couple times, getting caught side by side with someone. So it can happen to all of us. But again, learning experience there. You just want to wait for the straightaway and then get that drag race done, get in front of them before the bus stop.
As we see Jose Navas Molina holding on to that spot. Usually just see him run under Jose Navas in the Formula 4 series, where he's been rather dominant in that championship. Not your current championship points leader. Instead, that goes to a racer a couple of spots right behind him. It is Adam Duvall in the lucky number 13 car, holding on to that championship points lead over in the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship. If you want to see that series and the action that they have to look forward to in the coming weeks, you should probably hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never missed out on any of the racing action. Have a lot of Sim Racers Group shows to look forward to as we round off season 4 of 2025 with the SRG F3s running out Road Atlanta for the next round of this championship, and SRG F4 going to be at Misano. So once again, gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification icon so you don't miss out on any of it. But we have still got some good battles going on out there on the racetrack. I want to give some love to this battle involving Jason Trantham. It is the closest out there on the racetrack. 4 cars covered by just about nothing. Would you cover them with a blanket? Would you cover them with a single roll of toilet paper? Let's just see.
Yeah, maybe both out there. Who knows? But yep, we gotta. It doesn't matter where the battle's happening. It can happen in the back, it can happen in the front. If you're in the car, it feels just as good. That's what I've always said. Anyway, I don't really care sometimes what position I finish in, but just that I had a good race out there and had some fun battling with some people. It's when you get, you knock yourself out of the race, or you just have a bad one and you're kind of by yourself, that things aren't quite as fun. So we're watching here. I believe it's a battle for 12th, 13th, and 14th. But they're, almost formation flying here for the gaps in between each other. So we still have a lot of racing to be done between these 3 cars. There's a few other gaps kind of similar to that out there, but this is probably the closest between all 3. And it looks like, actually, I believe that is that Tyrone De Silva there bringing up the very back. Oh, no, that's Cotcher and Dillon, who may actually be able to join this this pack of drivers here for some fighting, depending on how things go in front of them here. And we'll see, maybe even down this back straight here leading into the bus stop. Don't think they're going to be close enough to really slow each other down yet, but I have a feeling we're a lap or 2 away from that. And if Dillon can kind of keep his pace up here, you never know, he might be able to monopolize on something.
Yeah, so we'll have to find out what he can do. I think there's a little bit of damage on that race car. Here's some scraping, but I'm also seeing something go on up in the front. Stephen Case, he picked up a slowdown during this lap, so that gap between himself and Josh Leslie has cratered over the past couple of moments now. For the first time in quite some time, it's once again below a half a second. Josh Leslie in that number 55 car looking to try and get the duo here tonight. Won race number 1 a little bit earlier on this evening. He's currently on track to finish this race in second, but he's still got about 15 minutes left to go. Hops the curb, though. You can see these new reimagined 3D curbs and how brutal of a ride they are in these F4 machines. We'll actually jump to the gyro cam fixed on the horizon, so you'll be able to see all the undulations in the road. Run over a pebble and you'll be able to give the camera whiplash.
Yeah, absolutely. You can actually see it kind of wedge the car up here. We'll definitely have to check this gyro cam out when we go through the bus stop, and just see how much it upsets the car. Like, I would imagine you're rolling around on a very, very small patch of rubber through sections of that bus stop. You're just kind of tiptoeing or tipping back and forth off tire to tire, going through it, and sort of just almost flying the car through that section at points, to be honest. You have a little bit of downforce on this car, so it's different, but maybe we'll stay on board here. You can hear those 3D curbs as well, and I know my butt kicker in my rig has definitely never vibrated quite so hard since they put those in the game. We'll see here off this on this right tire, and he's not going to take a whole bunch of it, but you can see how much it upsets the car there. Maybe some more on some other vehicles like I don't know, the SRF or something. It feels like you are ripping a shopping cart through there at 90 miles an hour. It's pretty violent.
Yeah, it can be a brutal ride at many points in time around this racetrack. Old school in its nature, old school in its design, but that's a reason why we love it. Watkins, Glen, a track that I want to personally visit at some point in real life as well. It's in terms of American road racing circuits, it is one of the closest to me in terms of ones that see major national competition outside of just club racing ranks. I'm trying to think now. Here's a nice little it's yarn to spin here. As a big IndyCar guy, this is very sad for me to say. The closest IndyCar track to me, I believe, is actually Toronto, up there north of the border. Living in the city of Philadelphia, that is the closest race to me. Yeah, it's not even there anymore. Actually, I think Markham would.
No, you're right.
I guess
Actually,
then be the closest. Auto-corrected there in my own brain, but I have been to mid-Ohio in my life. I've described that track in the past as being slap dab in the middle between low Ohio and high Ohio. That track is in absolute no man's land. It is, like, as someone who's lived in the city of Philadelphia for all 20, soon to be 21 years he's been on planet Earth, being in an area that rural was a, I wouldn't say disturbing experience, but it was definitely some culture shock.
Yeah, for sure. You can get, I live in Canada, and man, oh man, there's a lot of distance between two places. Sometimes we got all kinds of rural areas like that out here. And to the truth be known, actually, I live in a town with only about 8,500, maybe 9,000 people or something like that in the mountains. So not too many people out here, but definitely a little different from the States. I've only had a chance to be in a few different states in my life, but always really enjoyed my stay there. As we're watching Jacob Guyton here behind Daniel Abivi, who had a bit of a rough one there in the first race, making a bit of a comeback here in the second one, holding on to ninth place so far, but perhaps not for long. Behind him, we got Jason Green, who's actually going to get this one done, I believe, onto the inside here, taking that sort of primary line through it. Not really going to make it work, though, actually holding on to it for the 64. And now they're going to be able to use the 69 as a pick here. So let's see how this works out.
Yeah, 3 wide racing as they head their way through the back flat out blast into the heel, and that's going to be Jason Green getting shown the door. He remains in P11. Jacob Guyton going to utilize that perfectly to jump his way up into ninth, as Labibi still going to be the meat of that sandwich, slotted in P10 at the current moment. He's up 3 spots from where he started in this race. Haven't seen too many hard chargers, as in fact, from Jacob Guyton, who we follow right now, slotted in ninth, all the way through up to Kalen Michaelwitz in P4. Everybody in that group of cars, all 5 of them, running in the exact same spot that they started this race in. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, you don't usually see that many donuts in a row up there for sure, especially this late into the race. And around them, you have one guy. We have two above them there, 1 position down. Then below them, they're lined up 3 threes and then 1 5. It's pretty interesting for sure to see that around here. And maybe that just has to do with Watkins Glen, like I was saying before there. I think there are, we've all been here a few times. We get pretty comfortable around here, but I've personally, up until maybe even this year, never really been able to really find sort of the niche around here and be able to race kind of comfortably and consistently, let's say. Comfortably being the key word there, with the bus stop in the first corner and a few other kind of tricky spots on the track here. I've been able to finally kind of figure it out, which it looks like some of our drivers have done here too. Pretty standard fare so far. I think the smallest gap on course be Jason Green and Labivi, as we're looking at Kellyan Mikowitz here, who's making up some time on Lopez.
And Kalen Michaelwitz holding on to that P4 spot at the moment in that 76 car, trying to reel in this gap and give us a battle to discuss for that final podium spot. I think it is not out of the woodwork just yet. Still have about 10 minutes left to go in this race too, so lots of things can happen between now and the checkered flag. Expect the unexpected is usually what I like to say here in this series, as Kalen Michaelwitz going to scrape the wall. Hits a safer barrier as he heads his way out of the final turn here at the Glen. No runoff area to speak of. In fact, I think if I could reel it up, if that was marked as a collision for him, I may be able to load up a pretty interesting shot, but I think I'm going to hold off on that, as we may have a battle between these two. As you can see, that gap closing. Michaelwitz got to try and make something work on maybe the outside of Lopez. He thinks better of it as they head their way down the back straightaway, running off into the dirty part of the racetrack to try and avoid going for a balls to the wall gutsy move. He's still slotted in 4th, realizes, hey, going for a move into the bus stop, that is a low percentage move. I want to be there at the very end, get a good points haul, and just have a shot to win at the very end. To finish first you have to finish. I've read that in a fortune cookie before.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think you're right there as well. It's better to just kind of hold off unless you really, really have the run and you've kind of made it very clear that, hey, I'm taking this corner going into the bus stop. It's usually not a good idea to push it. And he backed out there. And I think that's what he's doing. He's going to wait. He's still got some time here. Just wait. Just hold off a little bit. You can get that pass done perhaps on the last lap, and then you don't have to worry about him coming after you for the next 10 laps. And I think that's probably what he's doing here with a bit of damage on the front as well. He's going to be nursing that car back and doing a good job of it here up in 4th position as well. If we look back now at Jose Navas, looking forward at Joshua Corwin, who's also putting another good race together here. We're not looking like anybody's moved any positions, but I have a feeling nearing the end of the race, now that these drivers kind of know the track and they kind of know their speed, those who can make something happen will, as we got Jason Trantham off the road here with a broken race car.
And let's see what happened as he headed his way off through the heel. May have been the outside curb. No, he hopped the berm, hit the wall, and sledgehammer shot into the receiving tire barrier in the midst of all that. Huge damage on the front end of that race car. We'll take a look at another view of this time from the gyro cam. These cars, when they wreck hard. I remember one time, a little bit earlier on this season, if my memory serves me correctly, I wanted to hit the racetrack with some of these racers for the Zolder round of the championship. I was doing some practice laps, set some pretty alright times. It will put me in the midfield, and then the only trouble was, as I had my way off through the mid-sector on one of my laps, I ended up hitting the wall so hard that I somehow turned my car upside down, which is neither here nor there. Adrian Lopez and Caleb Michaelowicz still battling out in this battle for the final podium spot. Lopez still holds on to it as Joshua Corwin and Jose Navas continue to fight right behind.
Yeah, it looks like pretty standard fare here. Again, we saw, the curb rearing its head there for sure. He kind of hopped the curb to take that wide as possible, and it unsettled the car, and it was kind of done at that point. He was sort of arriving at his own accident. You say just clipped that tire barrier on the inside, which doesn't really matter in sim when you've kind of ripped the wheel off, but in real life that would have been definitely the spot you wanted to hit. Another foot up and you'd be smashing into a steel barrier, and it would be a much worse wreck. As we're still watching Joshua Corwin here put together a pretty good one. He's about doesn't look like he's gonna have the pace to be able to catch these cars in front of him unless they can get into a bit of a squabble. We see Jason Cotcher taking about as wide as you would want to going through there, looking like he's a little bit of damage on the nose of that car as well. I'm gonna assume here, I'm gonna go ahead and make the executive decision that the cars are getting damaged at the bus stop. I would imagine going through the bus stop and hammering that curb over and over again every lap as we see the car repair itself right there. Maybe we can actually stay on board here. We'll see it. Maybe if we're lucky, if he takes a bunch of curb, maybe we can watch it get hurt. Perhaps he did touch a wall there a little bit, and that's what's going to give him the damage on that particular one. But I'm wondering maybe if this can damage the car too. And we're seeing kind of some damage happen and then a crash because the damage has wrecked the car a little bit.
Yeah, these cars can be quite sensitive. Small little bit of contact, nose cone and front wing to wheel or rear wing, and you will find yourself with a whole lot of air damage. May even be a slight tweak, but these Formula 4 cars very specifically tuned. And when I say specifically tuned, I mean if that front wing is slightly askew, your car is going to be feeling like a trash bag full of sad lasagna sliding down a set of concrete steps. I know because I've driven this car a whole lot. It was my first love on iRacing. You always remember your first love, and you always remember when your first love felt like a trash bag full of lasagna sliding down a flight of concrete stairs. As we jump to this battle once again with Adrian Lopez and Caleb Michaelowicz. Let's add that one to the coffee books.
Yeah, I think we'll have to add that to the Silly Comms video. For a second, I thought you were going to say, and I know what it's like to see lasagna slide down some concrete stairs, and I was like, that is an interesting one. I've definitely dropped some food coming into the house before, but not a lasagna. But moving on to the 007 here, trying to hold off Caleb Michaelowicz here. Not sure he's going to be able to do it. This is going to be a difficult one to hold off. You have two big, long straightaways here, and he's going to force the issue a little early. That's perplexing a little bit that he'd want to do that. Really what you kind of want to do here is actually back off the throttle a bit so you can get this pass done right about now, and he's sort of robbed himself of that. We'll see if he can get it done on the outside here. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. He's to think better of it this time. Might have a run here and be able to undercut it, but you don't really want through that twisty section there. If anything, you kind of want to let off the throttle a bit and then step on it again for the straightaway so that you can get that pass done down the straight. And I would imagine that's probably what he's going to line up on the next one here. If you're seeing a little bit of touching the grass there and shotgunning some grass into Michaelowicz's visor here.
Yes, I think this battle is just going to come down to the final lap, and we are getting closer and closer to that as well.
Yeah, real close.
4 minutes left to go here in this race as Stephen Case leads over Josh Leslie. The gap is about 1.4 seconds between those racers, and growing as well. I think Leslie is starting to struggle. You know what? This is actually a very good cam that we've got right now, and I may be able to refine on it slightly if I can change the angle here. Now, I think the other roll bar cam may be the best shot that we have. Can't really zoom in without pulling up the ugly iRacing UI, but you can just use your eyes, maybe use a little zoom in feature that I know YouTube has on mobile devices, and look at the top of the chassis. You can see a little bit of scraping on that car, and considering the yellow livery of Josh Leslie's 55 car, you can see it a bit more clearly than you can with others. I think the point that you raised a little bit earlier on, Josh, may be exactly on the nose. I think running over the curbs may be slowly but surely wrecking these race cars.
Yeah, I'm almost positive it is. Can't remember what I was driving around here, but I smucked that curb and then I pulled into the pit. It may have even been an F3 car. And immediately one of the flicks on the side was bent, and I could see it. It looks like maybe they've kind of fixed that at iRacing here, and you're not going to be damaging the flicks quite as much as you used to. But it looks to me like there is some front-end damage being taken here, and there is a very, very delicate bottom of this car. It has a lot of ground effects on it, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's, knocked something just a little bit out, a little bend in the front or a twist in some of the metal parts, even though there's not a whole lot of them on here, can definitely cause some aero problems and some downforce problems, and the car can start acting really strange. And this is not a place you want that to be happening around here, where the curbs can wedge the car and kind of pull the downforce off it, and you're hopping through that bus section or the bus stop section. So yeah, as we can see, this looks like a pretty clean nose on this one, not too much damage. And I bet you if we went back in the replays, you would see that he's been avoiding that curb more than most.
Yeah, just looking through, trying to see what some of these race cars are looking like as we get closer and closer to the end. I believe we are now on 2 laps left to go here at Watkins, Glen, for round number 10 of this season, as the battling between Lopez and Michaelwitz continues to flare up. You look at the car of Michaelwitz, and you look at the top of the chassis there, right in front of the driver's cockpit, and you look at the same deal on Lopez's car. Doesn't look as bad as Josh Leslie's, but still doesn't look like a full bed of roses either, as, oh my goodness, side-by-side battling all through the S's as they head their way onto the back straightaway. That's some gutsy stuff between these two, as Lopez and Michaelwitz going to be wheel to wheel. Look at Michaelwitz. Will he try and get this move done around the outside? Going to hold on to that spot is Lopez, but Michaelwitz still all around him. Yeah, there we go. Leaving room, giving him the opportunity. That is some fantastic racing between these competitors, as we see the fans getting a grandstand view of all this, of this grandstand finish. Oh, and that's a lockup from Michaelwitz.
Yeah, you could see, actually, I believe it was Lopez on the front there, expecting maybe Michaelwitz to go up or around the outside there. He actually left him a bit of room, or just kind of took a bad line and kind of swung a bit wide there. It's going to bring actually Joshua Corwin into this battle here, potentially right at the very end, when you don't want to see him in your rearview mirror. That's where he's going to be. And, I actually have a bit of a different camera going, because I have a different camera pack loaded, Braun, and I can see the nose of the car a little bit closer up. And, could be a little bit of deceiving of the eye, because they do have some kind of cool molding in the front. They kind of bend, and there's a cool kind of swish in the front of the car. It almost looks like the front of some of them are slightly bent.
Yeah, I would not rule that out at all. I can imagine the chassis are feeling the burn as we get to the end of this race, even though track conditions have been nigh on perfect for these racers. The bumps, on the other hand, the curbs, have been about as far removed of a bed of roses as you can get. It's not been a bed of roses, it's been a bed of C4, and many of these racers have felt the other trouble. Adrian Lopez had the damage on the front end of that race car. You can see a little bit of it on the black and white top of the chassis of that machine. Galen Michaelwitz, can't really see it whenever we ride on board with him, and I have a theory as to why that may be the case. Heard some people say the reason why they like to own a white car is because it hides the bird dirt that may get put on it. I think what we've got right now is a black car does hide the damage, because even with some of the fantastic slow motion racing and slow motion broadcasting logos that you've got on this race car, can't really see the scraping too badly. And
yeah, I can see one or two now, just barely though. You're right, just barely. He got one like last lap maybe, because it just showed up.
I think we have a battle. Maybe I'll flare up a little bit farther behind. Jason Green on track for a P9 result, as Daniel Labivi and Jacob Guyton. Gonna give us a good battle here. Yeah, a couple of moments away from Stephen Case. Oh, contact made. That's a huge hit into the wall.
No.
Jacob Glen gonna set himself straight out of this race. He toes back to pit lane. Meanwhile, up the front, Stephen Case gotta head his way around the final 2 corners to cap off what has been another fantastic round for him here in this championship. And there we go. Stephen Case gonna grab the checkered flag to win it here at Watkins Glen. It's gonna be Josh Leslie coming home in P2. Gonna have to wait a little while for Adrian Lopez to come across the line to round out your podium. A third and a close finish with himself and Kayla Michaelwitz, who comes up right behind. And fourth, Joshua Corwin will round out your top 5. You know, Josh, we're expecting some drama here at Watkins Glen, and we most certainly got it in spades.
Yeah, for sure. Good racing right to the end there. You saw live what happens when the downforce gets genuinely ripped off the front of a car. When you're trying to turn, it just goes straight after that. You saw the nose come off, and then whoop, the car just went completely straight into the wall. Some really great driving up front there as well. Stephen Case making that pass early and then just kind of putting on a clinic up front. Some great racing here too from the likes of the podium finishes, as well as I believe Josh Corwin just outside of the podium here, showing a really good job today with the pace and consistency out there. And it looks like the whole field actually from race 1 to race 2 was really able to put it down much better in the second one here. So some great racing around Watkins Glen as per usual.
Yeah, we always expect some good racing at the Glen, and we most certainly got it throughout tonight. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, we hope you have enjoyed the show. And if you have, happen to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. Got a lot of stuff to look forward to here on SMB, but more on that a little bit later on in this show. For now, though, let's take a look at the race results for race number 2 of the evening here for round number 10 of this Formula 3 championship here in Sim Racers Group. We'll load up those race results right about now and let you know that the gap at the end between Stephen Case and Josh Leslie turned out to be 2.5 seconds. Case, even though he was feeling the challenge from Leslie a bit earlier on, didn't really work out in Leslie's favor, as Stephen Case gonna fend off the challenge from your race 1 winner here tonight. Adrian Lopez will finish right behind in 3rd, with Kayla Michaelwitz in 4th, Joshua Corwin in 5th. Jose Navas will finish this race in 6th, with Jason Cotcher, Adam Duvall, Jason Green, and Daniel Labivi completing your top 10.
Yeah, and then in 11th, we have Justin Snyder having a much better race than the first one there in 11th place. Tyrone De Silva in 12th. Colker and Dillon in 13th. Alex Velasco in 14th. Igor Grunsky in 15th. Jacob Guyton will come home in 16th. Jason Trantham having a bit of a rougher second run there in 7th. David Borden not having the greatest evening tonight, unfortunately. Not so good in the first one, and then kind of just falling victim to some issues there in the second one, let's call him. And Varun Bali going to round out the field in 19th place.
And so those are your results from the night. Round number 10 of the Sim Racers Group F3 series. We did promise this a little bit earlier on, and now bearing in mind, folks, we have had a whole night of racing action go by. We didn't get a chance to take a look at this earlier on. Here were the championship point standings heading into this race. Stephen Case going to extend that gap, considering he grabbed a win, and Jason Green did run into some major difficulties in that race. Could very well have just sealed the deal on this season's championship. Danushka Borgi slotted in 3rd, and we will take a quick look at the other team's championship points as we head off into this round of the championship as well, where L10 Racing Team has been pretty dominant in that category. Dad Tax Racing Team slotted in 2nd with JGJS completing your top 3 in the team's point standings. A reminder, folks, those are now officially out of date, considering those were the points heading off into this round of the championship, and of course not including what we have just seen here tonight. However, Mr. Wookie, we do have some drivers looking to have a chat with us, so I'll let you get the interviews kick-started here, and I will ask you who you would like to have a chat with first.
Yeah, let's bring down series admin Jason Cotcher here. I'll chat with him.
Alrighty. Sounds like a plan.
I can grab him. Nope, you got him? Perfect. Jason, Watkins Glen, not always the easiest place to get around, especially with so many cars here. It can, that first lap, the bus stop, there are a lot of places to fall into pitfalls here, or make a mistake, or make a low percentage move. We saw a few of them tonight, but the second race was a lot cleaner. How'd you see it out there tonight?
Yeah, the same way, just with a little bit more heart rate, I think, than you guys. Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Hi everybody. Thanks for having us. Yeah, the sprint was a little hectic. I sent one. I probably might have not in a second thought. I had a laugh with Kalen in house about. Can't believe we went 3 wide and everybody came out the other side. And I got by 2 and then almost lost it in the bus stop and fell back into line right where I left. So it was like, how did we get back to where we started? But super fun. I mean, drafty, not that technical. So I hope that the looked like the racing was pretty close. It usually kind of breaks into pack racing, and I made a joke between the sprint and the feature, like, I don't want to fight, like, please don't fight me, and then everybody goes, okay, we'll play nice, and then turn 1, it's 10 deep, right? But yeah, I mean, always fun with these guys. It's been. Yeah, we've kind of tripped over ourselves a few times this year. We've kind of like toddlers, everyone's learning to run next to each other, and when one guy falls, he can easily take 3 with him. So it's minor mistakes. It's never anything hyper aggressive or egregious. And we're having fun with our friends. So yeah, I'm glad the feature was cleaner. The intensity is high, man, inside and out. And yeah, just having fun with my friends on a Wednesday night. Come join us.
Yeah, that's great to hear for sure. And that's the way you put it as well. This place is always a fight. You're kind of fighting the track, but man, the racing around here can be so intense, and you're basically playing chicken into the bus stop with people sometimes. And it really does take patience and some good racecraft to know when you can hold on that and not go too wide through it. And we saw a couple too wide attempts that did not work out tonight, and that's what you're going to find around here at Watkins Glen because of that sort of fighty nature of the track. But yeah, some great stuff. Hopefully I will be able to join you guys maybe next season. Unfortunately, been too busy to get out there this season behind the wheel of this beautiful race car, but we are heading on almost nearing the end of the season now. Championship starting to wrap itself up. You got any final thoughts for us today before we let you go?
Yeah, I love Watkins, Glen. As you mentioned, the bus stop, it's 11 tenths when you get it exactly right, and it's 4 tenths when you don't. So it's a big all in. And quick shout out to Jose Molina. I was chasing him in the sprint and then in the feature, and there was like 4 laps to go. I had a run on him. I didn't take it. I figured, maybe 1 or 2 more laps, and then you just make like the slightest lockup and they get away from you. It's tough to differentiate yourself without a draft to draw you back in there, but he had a great race, and fun to see Adrian Lopez on the podium and Jose up there. Corwin and Kalen were going at it there for a minute. So yeah, a little bit of a shake-up off of mixed starts. So hopefully, some people had some chance to learn from and race other guys that they don't usually line up next to. But yeah, super stoked. 2 races to go. This is the first season that's really counted, and the F3 has not disappointed. It's a fun car, punishes you when you get out of line, but you can really live right on the limit, which is all the adrenaline. So yeah, proud admin, stoked to have it and be a part of it, and appreciate it, and you guys too. We always want you, the slow motion broadcast team, to feel appreciated. It's so special to share it with our friends, and usually everybody says it every week, but that's what it means to us. You guys are awesome. So love you, appreciate you, and catch you next week.
Hey, well, we always love the kind word there, and yeah, for sure. So cookie dispensed to your location for that one. And the definitely have to agree with you there with the SRG. Both, I've had the pleasure of producing and commentating on both of them more than a few times now over the last few seasons, and really watched the level of driving in F4 and F3 has gotten a whole bunch better on both. And there's some great races to watch. We love having you guys around, and that connection we can have with the patrons and with the drivers and everything there down at SRG has really made things very cool. So we're really, really happy to be a part of it, Jason, and we'll catch you on the next couple rounds here.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Ron. SMB crew. Cheers, guys. Catch you next week.
Sounds good, man. Take care.
And that right there was Jason Cotcher, series admin, and at the end of this race, he had a pretty darn good show. P7 form at the end of that, but looks like we have some more drivers looking to have a chat with us, and I think I will have a chat with our P2 finisher here in this race, and race 1 winner to get the night up and rolling. It was Joshua Leslie in that 55 car. Had a pretty wild night for sure, so we'll have have a chat with him here in a couple of moments. I'll just drag him into the booth right now. Josh, welcome in. P2 for you in race number 2, the win in race 1. How was it out there here tonight at Watkins Glen?
Yeah, it felt really good. I was actually able to be in that podium spot where I'm supposed to be. So yeah, it was pretty good.
It was a pretty good night for you behind the wheel. I want to ask you, though, about this Watkins Glen racetrack. Looked like the cars were really feeling sour towards the end, and we noted as we rode on board with your car throughout this race, maybe a little bit of just chassis damage done from whacking the curbs. I want to ask you how it was just trying to run these cars around this track at speed for so long.
Honestly, the chassis damage wasn't too bad, but it's mainly just the tires sitting behind Steven and that dirty air kind of hurting my tires a little bit, and so it would just get understeery or oversteery depending on how I brake into the corner. Every lap it would change.
I can imagine the dirty air on this very tight and twisty racetrack caught you out pretty badly, but still a pretty good result here at Watkins Glen. We're going to be heading off to another classic American road course as we swap out Watkins for Road Atlanta next time out. What are your thoughts heading to that track in 1 week's time?
I think I've driven Road Atlanta once before, and it's a pretty fun track, pretty flowy. There's lots of elevation, so I'm really looking forward to that.
And looking forward to seeing what you can do behind the wheel in that race as well, Josh. So before we let you go and celebrate the other win in race number 1 and the podium in race 2, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Jason here. He's been lending me this sim rig at his shop, and he would give me coaching equipment, and I'm about to set up my sim rig now. So it's all thanks to him.
We always love to see people join the dark side and get more and more into sim racing. And shout out as well to Jason for everything that he does to bring more people into the world of iRacing. But Josh, thank you for joining us here in the commentary booth. Well done on the win in race 1, and looking forward to seeing you out there, maybe contending for another at Road Atlanta next time out.
Yeah, thank you.
And that right there was Josh Leslie, our P2 finisher here in this race. And Josh, I will leave you the opportunity to have a chat with our P3 finisher here, that being Adrian Lopez.
Yeah, let's bring Adrian in here and we'll have a little chat. P3 on the board today. Not an easy track out there. Bus stop, we're just watching you go through on the replay here now as well, taking some people out today. Not an easy one. Lots of pitfalls around here. Lots of places to get it wrong. Lots of places to kind of make a low percentage move and try to pass your competitor in the wrong spot. But you're able to keep it clean and keep her on the road there. How'd it look for you out there?
Well, physically, my body hurts. I am sweating like a pig. But no, the heat one was a bit of luck with everybody kind of just getting into each other's way. I felt bad for Alex. Lap 1 on the bus stop. I had a little bit of a run on him neck and neck, but I figured, you know what, cold tires, heavy fuel. Let me lift and just let him have it, and then kind of unintentionally set a trap card and let him run right into Tyrone as they had a tussle up front. So we got a little bit lucky there and just did my best to stay smooth and just hold it. I knew Jose was behind me for a while. Sometimes we have similar pace, sometimes I'm a little bit faster, sometimes he's faster. But I know on this one I was, I think, a little bit more consistent, so I wasn't sweating too much up until I had a big old Stephen Case behind me. And that was very tricky to kind of keep him back there. I was trying to get really close to the wall, so maybe psych him out and have him overshoot the outside of a turn. So if I get close to a wall, he hits the wall, but he's very good. My defense is pretty strong there, but I had to use everything I could, and especially against Kaylin. Kaylin, yeah, that was a big struggle, but yeah, that kept me on my toes, and he definitely loved to draft me on the main straight. But I knew if I kept that inside line on bus stop, I didn't see him have the cojones to try to pass me there. So I saw, oh, okay, that's your weak spot. I'm gonna exploit it, and we're just gonna keep it going.
Yeah, tonight again, that bus stop discretion being the better part of valor going through there. is the way to go for sure. You know, trying to play chicken through that section generally doesn't work out for anybody. And we saw you guys do that really well there, as you were kind of explaining to us as well, kind of giving the one up when it's needed to, and then taking it when you can. And that's kind of what it's all about around here at the bus stop with your competitors. Knowing, you know, just basically playing chicken into the bus stop. And we've all been there around here where you're, oh, is that guy going to try to dive down from the outside? And, you know, it's never usually a good move unless you're way up in front. But good racing out there today, keeping it consistent. Lots of key words there from you, Adrian. What are we looking forward to on the next race? I believe, was it Road Atlanta is the next one? Is that right?
Yeah, I believe that's the next one. A lot of us have had a lot of practice on that course, both in these cars and in the F4, so a lot of us know it. Might have to get a little bit of acclimation with these cars, but it won't take too long. So I wish I'd have an advantage for it, but we all kind of have an advantage for it. So I think it's going to be a close qualifying, just like we did today. Like I saw the top 10 within half a second I saw it. So I expect something similar for Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Most of us have a lot of laps around there. It is a fast, very hustly little racetrack that these things are going to simply fly around. So that should be a very, very interesting race for sure. You know, similar in some ways to this one in the sense that there are some places you can kind of play chicken with people on that track as well. And it's going to be, again, making good decisions and stuff out there. But great racing today, Adrian. Is there anybody you'd like to thank out there?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Kalen for keeping it clean. He usually does. It's rare when I get the chance to race with him, but when I do, it is always a blast, and we never make it easy for each other. We kept spamming expletives in our own little chat back and forth, just teasing each other as we make an attempt. Sometimes it works, sometimes it wouldn't. Just try to psych each other out. So good job from him. Appreciate it. That kind of brings the love of sim racing, is when you get to have moments like that with somebody. So shout out to Kaylin, and shout out to my lovely girlfriend for taking care of the baby, because if not, I would not be able to get on this race tonight.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for the kind words there. And yeah, it's pretty awesome when you can meet up and get some good racing done. You know, the cars might not be real, but the racing and the competitors and stuff you meet on here certainly are. So we'll see you next time, and have a good one, Adrian.
Thank you. I will try to put on a show for you on that one too.
Excellent. We'll be watching.
And that right there was Adrian Lopez, our P3 finisher here in race number 2 this evening for round number 10 of the Sim Racers Group F3 Championship here on SMB. Josh, that was a pretty darn good race, but we have got some darn good racing to look forward to here on SMB pretty much every single week.
Yeah, we sure do. Next up here, I believe we have Formula V's on Saturday, and that's going to be at Olton Park. So make sure you check that one out. That'll be me and Ron on the call again, actually. And then we got the FF 1600s at Sonoma. I'm going to try to make that one. We'll see if I can get some practice in. It's been a little bit rusty lately. I've been getting punted off track. I've been making mistakes myself, so I'll see if I can put it together for you guys in that one. And then again, in the Spec Racer Fords at Road America. We've been there a few times in the Spec Racer Ford. Everybody's very quick around there. Don't miss that one. We're getting giant fields. It should be a awesome race. And then XSLR also at Sonoma Rallycross. I'm going to do a little practice, see if I can get into that one as well for the jumpy cars. And don't miss that one. They're super fun. Jumpy cars are fun to watch. They're even more fun to drive and commentate with. And then SRG F4, we're back to Misano GP, which I'm really looking forward to. Misano being not a track we get to all the time, and I think it's going to be fairly new for some of the drivers there too. So that'll be a very interesting one. And then of course we're back with SRG F3 at Road Atlanta, as we were mentioning before, and also should be a good one here as we're kind of wrapping up our season. And then of course we're back to the V's, Okayama full course, and then we're going to go back to the FFs on the following Sunday again at Lebanon, and then all over again with the SRFs and into next week.
Yeah, so plenty of action to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast here tonight, for round number 10 of the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 Championship here at Watkins, Glen, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, and Josh Wilkie joining me in the commentary booth throughout tonight's broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.